to rock this place. Hey!
Welcome to the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm ready to chat about Week 8 of the NFL. But first, I'd like to bring on my co-host, Joe Dalio, then our special guest who has joined us many times before, Steve the Car Guy. But first, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
All right, it is going great, Jamie. How you doing tonight?
Good. I mean, we're in the middle of the NFL season. I think, like I said, the season's been going better than expected for the Bills. We got to take it one game at a time. And also in baseball news, the Yankees now have to take it one game at a time, literally, if they want to stay alive.
Yeah, just to backtrack to a different sport here for a second. Your team's not out of it yet. I know it looks very bleak, but I've seen crazier things happen. So one game at a time, like you said. Bills are taking it one game at a time, too. And again, we talked about it backstage. All of us agreed that things are going maybe a little bit better than expected here. So hopefully that can continue. You said something a little scary there. Week 8 already that we just played. So this season's gone a little fast, but it's going well.
I couldn't agree more. So now let's bring on our special guest, Steve the Car Guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Jamie, Joe, good to see you guys again. I cannot believe we're, like you said, week 8 already. I think the last time I met with you guys was before the season, and it feels like that was last week. So this is pretty mind-blowing to see that we're already talking about week 9 coming up. It's almost unfathomable. So thanks for having me again, guys. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we are glad to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Our pleasure to have you back.
Sure.
So are we ready to talk about the Thursday night 8:15 matchup between the 5-1 Minnesota Vikings and the 2-4 Los Angeles Rams?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the Vikings got on the board first with a 5-yard touchdown pass from Sam Darnold to Josh Oliver to bring the score to 7-0 Minnesota. The Rams answered back with a 5-yard touchdown from Matthew Stafford to Kyron Williams to knot the score at 7. The Vikings would then respond back when Darnold threw another 10-yard pass to Trent Sherfield, ex-Buffalo Bill, by the way, to close out the first quarter to bring the score to 14-7 Minnesota. With 10:05 left in the first half, Stafford connected with Cooper Kupp on another 7-yard touchdown pass on his first game back to bring the score 14-all. That would close out the first half of the game. With 6:22 in the third, Minnesota's kicker Will Reichert kicked a 23-yard field goal, which broke the tie, bringing the score to 17-14 Vikings. The Rams would take their first lead of the game as Stafford connected on a 25-yard touchdown pass with Demarcus Robinson with 2:36 left in the third to make the score 21-17 Rams. Reichert hit another field goal, this time from 35 yards to cut the Rams lead, or to cut the Vikings, yes, to cut the Rams lead, 21-20 early in the fourth quarter. The Rams capitalized on the next drive as Stafford completed another 10-yard pass to Robinson to bring the score to 28-20 Rams. With 1:36 left in the game, Byron Young sacked Darnold for his safety that put the Rams up 30-20. And after a failed onside kick, it sealed the game for the Rams that would bring their record to 3-4. So, Steve, not sure if you had a chance to watch the game or not, But with the Rams winning their last 2 games and playing much better, do you think they're starting to find their stride at the right time in the season like they did last year?
I think the NFC West is anybody's division right now. I think there's a 3-way tie at 4-4, and then one team at 3-4, I think, or something that had a bye already. So I think it's anybody's division, and I think that the Cooper Kupp trade talks have disappeared now that the Rams won 2 in a row. So I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I have trouble watching games even if the Bills are playing on weeknights because I get up too early. So I don't stay up for games of teams I don't follow. But I did see all over social media that face mask at the end of the game, and I'm not blind to the fact, hence my blind talk like the refs might be in that game, that was clearly a face mask call, and it it was still a long shot for the Vikings to win, but that missed call took away the chances completely. So it's I think it was pretty bad that they missed that. I actually came up with some kind of suggestion that I feel like a team should be awarded 1 penalty challenge per game, and win or lose it, they only get 1. They don't get another one if they get it right. And I think that's, you'd want to save it for something like that. So I think it's something's got to be done because that's the refs deciding a game, and that's not good. So Vikings are kind of falling a little bit. I think that's 2 in a row they've lost now, and the Rams are kind of surging a little bit. So that's they're not. Both of those teams aren't teams that significantly scare me right now because Stafford's aging, and we're not 100% sure if Sam Darnold is really the answer for the Vikings right now. So, but NFC games are just guys we have to worry about if we get to the Super Bowl. So that's the way I feel about NFC games.
Right.
We got to get past our gauntlet AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, with this being Minnesota's 2nd loss in a row, do you think that Minnesota and Darnold will bounce back and play like they did 2 weeks ago when they were undefeated?
Yes, I do. I think the Vikings are for real. I think that this result doesn't surprise me because you got a combination of 2 teams kind of regressing to the mean here. Again, where the Vikings a 5-0 type team, I don't think so. And it doesn't surprise me that they've lost a couple in a row. Again, I still think they're there in the end and they're a potential playoff team. I think Sam Darnold is going to continue to play well, maybe not as well as he was playing in the beginning of the season. And, they've been playing decent defensively. Now, again, these 2 losses, they didn't. But, the Rams, on the other hand, some people call them the Ramily, right? And the Ramily is slowly coming back together here. And, they're getting players back, getting Nacua back. And yes, there was rumblings that Cooper Kupp may be on the move. But I think, again, with some of the guys coming back and him being, part of the mix here and the Rams being part of the playoff mix and even part of the divisional mix there, I think it would be smart to keep Cooper Kupp there. Mm-hmm. So it was great to have Nacua back. I mean, you could see what a difference that makes in the offense. I had a prop pick on him. The prop line was like 30, and I had won that bet by the middle of the first quarter. So I was celebrating that, but he certainly makes a big difference as we can see. So I expected this result, actually. Again, 2 teams kind of coming back to the mean. But I think the Vikings will be there in the end, and so will the Rams.
I do too. Now, moving on to the Sundays, 1:00, if you want to call it a competition, between the New York Jets taking on the 1-6, or as Gerard Mayo called them, the soft New England Patriots. We'll get to that later on. Drake, may your days be merry and bright, score a 17-yard touchdown run with 5:18 left in the first quarter that made the score 7-0 Patriots. The Jets would then respond as tight end Tyler Conklin, not to be confused with the former Sabres backup goalie Ty Conklin during the Lindy Ruff Golisano days, caught a 2-yard touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers, but Greg Legatron Zerline failed to make an extra point, as he always does, to bring the score to 7-6 Patriots. With 9:06 left in the first half, Xavier Gibson caught a 1-yard touchdown pass from Rodgers to end the half, bringing the score to 13-7 Jets at halftime. Running back Ramondre Stevenson scored a 3-yard touchdown to help the Patriots regain the lead with 10:55 left in the third, bringing the score to 14-13 Pats. Zuerlein this time kicked a 29-yard field goal at the end of the third quarter, bringing the score to 16-14 Jets. At 12:39 in the fourth, Zuerlein went back to his old ways and missed a 44-yard field goal. Following the missed field goal, Joey Sly Fox connected on a 23-yard field goal with 7:34 left in the game to bring the score 17-16 Pats. The Jets would then answer back on a 2-yard touchdown run from Braylon Allen, but the two-point conversion attempt failed, and the Jets led 22-17 with 2:27 to play. With 22 seconds left, Stevenson ran it in for a 2-yard touchdown, and he caught the two-point conversion, and the Patriots won the game 25-20 over the Jets. So, Steve, what did you think about the Patriots responding to the fact that leading up to the game, head coach Jerod Mayo called them a soft team last week, and that they responded with a comeback win against another team that we think is soft?
Well, I didn't hear that about Jerod Mayo, but I will say this as much. I put on Twitter earlier today that it would be probably one of the funniest things in NFL history if the Patriots finished in second in the AFC East this year. Mainly because it's everybody, all they did all offseason was talk about the Jets and Dolphins. And it would be just so comical to see the Patriots finish ahead of them. And I don't think they will. I think they're a very bad team. And the Jets are just a crumbling tower right now that the Patriots got on a bad day. So it is kind of funny how coming into the season, people thought the AFC East was going to be one of the strongest divisions. But it looks right now like one of the weakest with just a really good team at the top. And I didn't take much out of that game on Sunday. I think I was more shocked. I left my house to go watch the Bills-Seahawks game. And when I left, the Jets were winning. The Dolphins were winning, and the Ravens were winning. And when I arrived to my destination, someone said to me, "So a lot of stuff went the Bills' way." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "The Patriots won, the Dolphins lost, and the Ravens lost." And I'm like, "What? Unbelievable." Like literally mind blown. So I think it's just one of those things like the Patriots and the Jets and the Dolphins, they're just kind of going by the wayside this season. It's going to be a very forgettable season for them. So that game, it's just kind of fun to watch Aaron Rodgers struggle. I don't know. I think it's very enjoyable. Also, with him looking like he controls the team, it was, I don't ever want to root for the Patriots because of what they did to us for 20 years, but I had a good smirk on my face Sunday afternoon when I found out the Patriots won. So that was it was good to see. And yeah, the Jets just rubbed me the wrong way. The way they do everything, and watching it crumble at their feet is it's very satisfying. Very satisfying.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to say, Steve, though, this is a rebuilding team for the Patriots. They do have a lot of cap space, and they do have a lot of draft picks coming up. So this is a team that maybe in year 2 could be a little more competitive, but by year 3 could get back to being a decent team under Mayo, because I think Mayo's still the right guy to replace Belichick, and they're still going to have a culture, I think, of drafting well. So we'll see what happens with that.
100%. I just think this year was kind of a shock because they were expected to be so bad, and then they came out and beat the Jets, and they beat the Bengals week 1 too. So
with the concussed Drake May and Jacoby Brissett led that game-winning drive. But to be fair, though, Brissett was part of those when he was with Belichick and Brady. So he was he's one of the few guys that's still part of the Patriot way there. That's why they have him.
Yeah, a sentence I'd like to forget: the Patriot way.
So
Yeah, I don't know how the Jets won that game or the Patriots won that game, to be honest with you. I mean, the Jets dominated in every statistical category. And I just don't know how. I expected a close game here, but all game long, I just kept expecting the Jets to pull it off. In fact, I was watching the game with a Jets fan friend of mine, and I kept telling him the whole fourth quarter, don't worry, the Jets are going to win this game. The Jets are going to win this game. The Jets are going to win this game. And how they didn't, I have no idea. Like I said, the statistic, the Jets out-yarded them by almost 100 yards. Both teams had the same time of possession, but I guess I don't know how the Patriots did it. They seem to be playing with the attitude, like even from the beginning, I sensed that the Patriots felt like they had a chance to win this game. But I never thought they would. I thought they'd keep it close and make a game out of it, but just kept expecting the Jets to pull it off. I will tell you this, though, not that I enjoy saying this, but the way the NFL works, the Jets are going to beat the Houston Texans this week. It's just when a team loses a game like this, and when they look as bad as they've looked, and when the Texans keep winning games, you would just think, oh, that's an easy win for the Texans. I'm telling you right now, the Jets beat the Texans. And here's another tidbit. The Jets are favored in that game. And whenever the wrong team is favored, that's a buy signal. That means bet them. So I'll be thinking about doing that for the Jets this week. I would be very surprised if the Jets lost this game, even though
I kept saying, Joe, that they may win this game because Houston's got the weapons and everything, but you got to remember the Jets now have Devontae Adams and these guys, and now they've got the pieces, I think, that can win a game like this. If you would have told me before they got him, they wouldn't. But and don't forget, sadly, our former Buffalo Bill friend Stephon Diggs is out for the season with a blown out ACL, and Nico Collins is out for 1 week too. So,
yeah, I did not know that. I know Diggs was out for a little bit. I didn't know the extent of the injury, so that is very sad.
He's out for the year now.
Yeah, and you don't want to see that happen.
No, you don't. You can say what you want about his ego and everything with us, but he really brought it to our team every single game he played. I mean, he put his heart and soul out there and did everything he could to set the culture for this team now. So,
right.
And so Joe, I was going to get to you with Greg Zuerlein. I enjoy this all the time because he did this with the Cowboys so many times, missing so many field goals each week and relying on him and being a part of a team that goes for so many. Why do you think that the organization doesn't look for another kicker, like the UFL?
Yeah, well, I know you'd be behind a UFL guy going in there. I think maybe they're just going to wait until the end of the season. I agree with you. Maybe it's time. It's definitely time. I mean, Zuerlein has proven, that he can't handle it here. And unless he turns it around dramatically, I don't think we'll see him in a Jets uniform next year. But something tells me they hold on to him for the rest of the season, but he's not a Jet next season.
Yeah, I wanted to say about the UFL, though, I was going to say they did work out a Memphis Showboat kicker, Matt Coughlin, but apparently he didn't make the team, I guess.
Okay, well, maybe they're thinking about it now, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But it'll be interesting. I mean, if the Jets start winning some games, but Zuerlein continues to be ineffective, then, they think they're sniffing a playoff spot, which certainly is unlikely now. But if for some reason things turn around and they win a few games in a row and start heading in that direction, you wonder what might happen.
Yeah, because Jets fans, if you're listening to this podcast, let me tell you something. You may think you're out of this at 2-6, but you're really not. It's just a couple of miscues that you haven't been able to overcome. And if you overcome some of those miscues, you could start a streak like beating Houston this week and then take it one game at a time. So,
yeah, I mean, they do have to pretty much go 8-1 the rest of the season, I think, to make the playoffs. And I don't see that happening, but stranger things have happened.
Speaking of miscues, we're going to get into this now. Turning our attention to our game of the week, the 5-2 Buffalo Bills taking on the 4-3 Seattle Seahawks at 4:05 at the always difficult Lumen Field to play at.
Mm-hmm.
With 5 minutes left in the first quarter, Josh Allen threw a 2-yard touchdown pass to rookie sensation, or at least I think he's going to be now, Keon Coleman, completing a night, or I call him Mr. Trenchcoat, completing a 49 or 90-yard 14-play series to bring the Bills lead to 7-0. With 8:18 left in the second quarter, Jason Myers kicked a 38-yard field goal to cut the Bills lead 7-3. With 6:43 left in the second quarter, Allen finally threw his first interception of the season, but still, what a great streak for him to start out the year.
Right.
On 4th and goal, the Bills were able to hold Seattle as Geno Smith fell with the ball, and the Bills were able to recover it as a turnover on downs. With 25 seconds left in the half, Allen threw a 12-yard pass to Dalton Kincaid on National Tight Ends Day. Wonderful holiday, by the way, to bring the Bills lead to 14-3. Tyler Bass made a 27-yard field goal with 8:34 left in the third quarter to increase Buffalo's lead to 17-3. With 2:01 left in the third quarter, James let him cook, took it in for a 2-yard touchdown run to bring the score to 24-3 late in the third quarter. Cook scored his second touchdown of the day at 11:23 of the fourth quarter to increase the Bills' lead and bring the score to 31-3. At 8:05 in the fourth quarter, Zach Charbonnet scored a 1-yard touchdown to bring the score to 31-10. This was the first touchdown that the Bills have given up in the last 4 games in the second half.
Wow.
With Mitch Trubisky coming in at 5:02 left in the game for Allen, Matt Collins on punt coverage was able to cover a muff punt return, and Trubisky was able to kneel out the rest of the clock to end the final score 31-10 Bills. So, Steve, what did you think about the Bills getting off to a fast start and playing a complete game for the first time this year? I know we talked about it backstage, but let's talk about it in the live show now.
Yeah, the fast start is very important because, and the other thing too is we say fast start, but you know, when you watch the replay or the highlights of the game, it shows the Bills completing passes. It just skips over the first 3 and out that the Seahawks had, you know, and then they gave the Bills the ball. So fast start on both, on offense and defense, to get them to force a punt within 3 downs and then, you know, to go down the field. And I think you said 90 yards, but I think someone said with the penalties, the Bills had to get 110 yards to score that first touchdown. So I think they really seemed like a team that had nothing. They didn't miss on much, you know, when they had the penalties, that didn't even seem to phase them. You know, there was a couple times where they were 1st and 20, a couple times where they were, you know, 2nd and 18, and they'd pick up 15 yards on the play right after the penalty and get it all back. And so I think they just played a very complete game. Their turnover didn't hurt them thanks to Allen's tackle, which I think he now is number 3 on the list. I think he's I don't know how many pass attempts away, 60, I think, from Randall Cunningham, with most pass attempts not throwing a pick 6. So that's pretty cool to see. But also, you know, I said to someone before the game, I said, I hate that Allen is due for an interception. I said, I know I don't want to say it and knock on wood, but I said, if he gets one, I kind of am going to be glad that monkey's off his back, which is a weird thing to say. But I feel like it takes a little bit of pressure off him too. Like, hey, you're still really good when you throw interceptions. It's okay. You're a good quarterback, you know, and he's just, man, the fast starts are really what helps. And then the way they were able to double dip at the end of that first half with getting that pass to Kincaid and then coming out in the second half. And I think they got the field goal after that. So it's, man, they're improving very well. And Steve Tasker always says on One Bills Live that he doesn't even think they've hit full speed on their engine yet. Of what they're capable of. So it's I didn't want to get as invested this year because my heart's been broken too many times, but dang it, I'm there. I'm getting very, very excited and invested again in this team, and the possibilities with Coleman coming up and doing what he's doing, and Hooper doing what he's doing to help Coleman and Shakir play better, the team could be very scary come December, January. So, and they're only going to get hopefully healthier, as they get players back like Milano, and I think that's the biggest one. But Von Miller's still coming back, and and the trade deadline hasn't happened yet, so who knows what's else going to happen. But they're going to be a tough team to beat, especially at home. And I'm going Sunday to the Dolphins one, so
awesome.
That's cool. Anyway, we just got a YouTube comment from somebody named Danielle Thompson at 8:23 p.m. She asked, "Can I have your guys' head coach?"
I saw that comment. I'm curious as to who your coach is. First of all, thanks so much for the comment. We're curious as to who your coach is. Sorry, you can't have ours because he's doing pretty well. But
what if she says the Giants and Dable? Because that would be tough because Dable was an assistant under McDermott. So
okay.
Oh, she said I want Kyle fired. Oh,
Kyle.
She's a 49ers fan. She wants Kyle Shanahan fired. That's interesting.
Okay.
Is it Kyle Shanahan? Yeah. There's no other Kyle head coaches, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think she's talking about Kyle Shanahan. But okay, that's a little bit of a surprising comment, but we appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
No, I wouldn't. I'm sure there's some Bills fans that would gladly give up McDermott because no matter what he does, they're never going to think he's going to do enough. So, but Danielle, sorry, he's ours. We like him. We're going to keep him.
So anyway, and Joe, what did you think about the Fox broadcasting crew that were saying that Seattle's miscues were the reasons for their lackluster performance? And while this is true, Buffalo also had many penalties in the first half that put them in long third down positions that they were to overcome them. But you didn't hear that. You only heard the one side that Seattle had miscues and didn't overcome. But they didn't talk about how Buffalo's penalties were miscues, but they overcame them. I feel like they didn't see a two-way street here. So what is your reaction to this?
Yeah, I didn't really pay too much attention to that. And thank you, Danielle. We hope they win it all too, the Bills. But, the Bills certainly didn't win that game solely because of Seattle's ineptitude. I mean, they were just falling apart like a cheap suit throughout that whole game. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And you see their quarterback crying on the sidelines there. It just kept getting worse. But I think the Bills had a lot to do with that. Josh Allen had a very solid game, 283 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Yes, that first interception. But funny that you say that, Steve, because I was thinking the same thing. It's like the longer this goes on, that's awesome. But, it just gets a little scarier there, I guess. But so good that he got that monkey off his back and at really no expense. This was pretty much all hands on deck. James Cook over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, we had talked on this podcast a few times about how Amari Cooper was obviously a great weapon that would enhance the Bills' offense, but would open up opportunities for other people. Now, I didn't know it would happen at his expense. I mean, he only caught 1 catch for 3 yards this entire game. But, I mean, Khalil Shakir, 9 catches, over 100 yards. Keon Coleman, you were talking about, scored a touchdown, had 70 yards receiving. Dalton Kincaid got in the mix with a touchdown. So, certainly the Amari Cooper effect we saw in this game. And, very impressive performance by the Bills. They came here to play. Remember when we did our predictions in the beginning of the year, I predicted that Seattle would win this game. Now, I changed my mind when we did our predictions last week, and I think both you and I, Jamie, said that the Bills would win, but they would win a close game. So there was nothing close about this game. I mean, the Bills came to play. Yes, Seattle certainly hurt themselves by, poor penalties. But again, I wasn't about to let what some broadcasters were saying and some overrated quarterback. No, just kidding. He's not an overrated quarterback, but I don't get too bent out of shape by what the announcers say. whether, I agree with it or disagree with it. Yes, Seattle played horribly, and it just got worse as the time went on, as the game went on. But the Bills had a lot to do with that, and they came ready to play, And again, I live in Lancaster, New York here, and there's a hometown kid on this team. And he got some playing time and even got a tackle. He went to high school with my 3 daughters here. Joe Andreessen getting a tackle in the game too. I didn't see it. I don't know how I missed it.
It wasn't just a tackle, Joe. He popped the guy on special teams. He hit him good, man. It was I kind of jumped out of my chair a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, Joe." It was awesome.
I did not see it. I didn't know until I was reviewing the stats today. I was like, it wasn't a close game. I wonder if Andreessen got in there. And he did. And wait, he got a tackle. So I must have missed it somehow and I was distracted or whatever. But that's good to know that it wasn't just putting his hand out and tripping up the guy, that he hit the guy pretty good. So solid win by the Bills, a win that they definitely deserved. And not so much was handed to them. It was certainly a win that the Bills earned.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear the fans traveled pretty well too? They said, I don't know if you heard Gino's comments after, but he said it felt like an away game a couple times with how loud Bills fans were being, and that's awesome because that's a pretty far road game to go to. So,
even Josh Allen paused the interview with Erin Andrews at the end of the game to address the Bills Mafia. She was amazed too.
Yeah, he was just taking it in, I think. It was pretty cool to see him just be like, man, like, I don't think it gets old to him, like how awesome they travel. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but you might not expect that as much in Seattle, when they go to Baltimore or when they go to New Jersey or Indiana, Cleveland or something. But to see it all the way across the country, I think that's pretty impressive too.
Yep. No, it's awesome.
I feel like we've always done that, though. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even during the 17-year drought, we did that too. So, anyway, Steve, what did you think about the play and confidence that Keon Coleman has been showing each week, especially the Sunday?
There's been a lot of talk about, Bills and Chiefs fans fighting over who won the trade and who, like everyone's like, I can't believe you let the Chiefs get Worthy. And now Bills fans are saying, I can't believe you let the Bills get Coleman. And I think both teams got what they needed. The Jets needed a speedster that can actually catch because Sky Moore sure can't play very well. So, and the Bills got, I'll tell you, I saw Allen smile, a huge smile after he threw that pass to Coleman, that one-handed grab he had in the end zone over Woolen. And I don't know exactly what Allen said, but I'm pretty sure it had something along the lines when he went back to the sideline of, I told you that's why I wanted that guy, because he told Bean that that's who he wanted as a receiver. And I think Allen, I have a feeling he said that at some point on Sunday, like that's the reason I wanted that guy. So I think Coleman his upside is still, I don't think he's come close to it yet. I think he's still got a ton of upside. The guy is just a straight baller. He finishes his blocks, which is awesome to have that. So I feel like we're getting all the positives of Gabe Davis without any of the negatives of Gabe Davis. And I know it's still early, but man, Coleman is the real deal. And he's only getting better every week. And I think Cooper's going to help that significantly by his experience and, coaching him up. And Cooper's all business. So, he's going to coach up Coleman and help him become better. And if not for Jaden Daniels, Cooper could be in contention for Rookie of the Year if he keeps up what he's doing.
Coleman, you mean?
Did I? Yeah, if not for Jaden Daniels, I said Cooper. Yeah, Coleman. Coleman could be up for Rookie of the Year. So, sorry.
And think about this. We got him in the second round, too. Like the reason, and Worthy, I don't know if you know this, the Bills only had a second-round grade on Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
And everybody thought the Bills were going to take Xavier Worthy at 28. So people thought, why would you take a guy like that at 28 that you had a second-round grade on when they traded down? The Chiefs got Worthy at 28, and we took a guy at 33 that we could have taken at 28, but we got more picks.
We got Dwayne Carter out of
33.
Dwayne Carter's not bad. I know he's hurt right now, but man, he's I mean, that's who we got because we traded back with the Chiefs. So yeah, you can have Worthy. I'll take Coleman and Carter all day. So,
Carter's a big boy run stopper too. Once he comes back, watch out him stopping the run. Him and Daquan Jones.
yep, he looks great. Looks like a little bit of a gem in the draft there.
He's
Carter.
like an Ed Oliver, but he's athletic and like Ed Oliver, but he's bigger than Ed Oliver. That's what he is.
Yep,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. And Joe, what did you think about all the penalty flags that were thrown during the game? I mean, is this typical NFL where they just throw flags all the time? I mean, because just to throw them, or
You know what? I don't know what it is. I go watch my 7th grade nephew go play, and those games just take forever because there are a million penalties. And it's like I said, why does the NFL have to be like that? There's not a need for all those penalties, and hopefully that changes. I mean, sometimes, of course, you got to call penalties, and they're obvious, but let's stick to the obvious ones and not just call every little nook and cranny penalty that happens. You could potentially call a penalty on every single NFL play. There's some questionable holds or things like that. Just call the obvious stuff.
And how do you call that many penalties and then you miss what you miss on Thursday night? I know it's not the same crew, but like, how do you call every ticky-tack thing in the Bills versus Seahawks game and then go back to the Bills-Jets game? It was the same crew. And then you have a crew missing a blatant, obvious face mask. It just is. That's why I think the refereeing is broken. I feel like it's, and I know it's probably not their intention. They're still human, and I understand that completely. And I never want to come down on a ref. They have a pretty difficult job because they have a lot to watch. But it almost feels like they're making the game about them. And it's really, really, it's souring the product of the NFL, and it's not a good look. So hopefully something happens to improve it a little bit, at least that crew they were at 32 accepted penalties, I think, or 32 thrown penalty flags on Sunday afternoon. And that's absurd. I mean, even for a Bills win, that game felt like it did go by fast, but it felt like, like when they didn't throw a flag, you were more shocked,
right?
Because it was like every play had a flag, and you're just like, oh, flag. I wonder what this is. Oh, a flag, So yeah, pretty bizarre and annoying.
Yep, very annoying. And now to Joe's favorite part of the show, prediction time. Now, if I remember correctly, in the beginning of the season, Joe, you predicted that the Bills would beat the Dolphins week 9, and I thought the same. Do you still feel that way? And what's your score prediction?
All right, let me just say this. The Bills better be careful. Now, again, I just talked earlier about how the NFL works, and when a team looks as great as the Bills, you figure, that easy win coming up against a team that's struggling at home, against a team that the Bills have actually, absolutely dominated for the past few seasons, with a team that's having a subpar season, with a team that even got their star quarterback back in the lineup and lost to a team at home that they shouldn't have lost to. You would think that that's a game that the Bills win easily. Well, again, in today's NFL, that spells one thing for me. I'll spell it for you. LETDOWN, let down. So the Bills better be careful. Now, I think the Bills actually win this game. It's going to be a sloppy, not well-played game, I think. But, and the defenses are going to struggle. So I say Bills 31, Dolphins 27. But if the Bills are not careful, they could easily lose this game. I say that they don't. But again, today's NFL, when one team looks great, when another team looks awful, again, the Bills have owned the Dolphins. You would think easy win. I don't think so. I think the Bills are lucky if they win this game, but they will.
Steve, what are your thoughts?
48-20 Bills. So last year, when the Bills played the Dolphins at home, they thromped them. And the reason I'm going to knock on wood here. The reason I'm so confident is because every single Bills game I've gone to, and if you guys want to buy me season tickets after this, that's fine. But every single Bills game I've gone to, the Bills have won. So the reason I don't go to more is because it's absurdly expensive, and I have kids that's just too tough to get away all day, all the time. But now, if it was the Jets or Patriots coming here, I think I'd be a little more nervous. I know the Dolphins are technically a better team, but I feel like the Bills historically have struggled more with those two other teams than they have with the Dolphins, which we've obviously seen that Josh Allen has lost to the Dolphins one time. And I think it was one time, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, they beat them twice last year. It was 2 years ago. It was the butt punt from the Dolphins, and they still won that game, even though the Bills had almost 500 yards.
Where it was 1,000 degrees in Miami that day.
Exactly. So it even took like acts of God or acts of Mother Nature craziness for the Bills to lose that game with the heat. So I just think, I mean, the weather looks, knock on wood again, looks like it's going to be an elite fall day on Sunday, about 60 degrees, maybe 55, and a little overcast, no rain. And I think the Dolphins are just, I think they're just I don't want to say fluttering, but they're just kind of treading water right now, trying to figure out who they are. And, you know, I don't think they're well coached right now. McDaniel is a good offensive mind, but he's got two of the fastest receivers in the NFL on his team and one of the fastest running backs in Achane, second fastest with Mostert. And he doesn't seem to be doing much right now. And their defense is in shambles. So I think the Bills are hitting their stride at the right time, and they are so hard to beat at home. That's why normally, Joe, I think you and I agree on a lot of things, but I think the Bills are going to thwomp them on Sunday. And I know you probably hope that's the case because you don't want to be stressed out during the game, which a 31-27 game would stress me out. But I just don't think the Dolphins match up against the Bills, even in a close manner. So I think it's going to be a whooping, and I think there's going to be people leaving the stadium in the third quarter. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right. I like your prediction better than mine. Where
but you're a realist, I think. I think you're a realist.
What about you, Jamie? What do you think?
I kind of meet a happy medium. I think it's a game where the Bills should take care of business. But like you said, Joe, when one team looks great one week, it usually spells letdown. I think the Bills are going to get off to a slow start again, go back to their ways, but pick it up at the end. I think they're going to be battle tested. But I think I have the Bills winning this game. I got the Bills. Let's see, Bills 30, Dolphins 17.
Okay. So we all three of us got them winning.
Yep.
It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now let's move on to Sunday night's football game, the 8:20 game with rivals, the 3-3 Dallas Cowboys taking on the 3-4 injury-riddled San Francisco 49ers in where, Joe?
Santa Clara,
California. Yep. On the 49ers opening drive, Anders Carlson kicked a 50-yard field goal to open the score 3-0 San Fran. With 11:02 left in the second quarter, Zeke Elliott scored his second touchdown of the season. Where has he been, right?
Right.
To bring Dallas's first lead of the game, 7-3. With 2:59 left in the half, Brandon Aubrey kicked a 29-yard field goal to bring the score to 10-3 Dallas. With 11:35 left in the half, with 1:35 left in the half, excuse me, it was 49ers kicker Carlson's turn to kick a 44-yard field goal to cut the lead to 10-6 Cowboys, and that's how the first half would end. Isaac Garenda scored his first rushing touchdown of 4 yards at 12:59 in the third quarter to give San Francisco their first lead of the game, 13-10. With 7:16 left in the third quarter, Purdy threw a pass to George Little Caesars Kittle to increase the 49ers lead 20-10. Purdy took it in for himself, a 2-yard touchdown to bring the score to 27-10 San Francisco at the end of the third quarter. Dallas basically forgot that there was a third quarter and basically did not show up for this quarter, but this is where it changes in the fourth quarter. With 7:58 left in the fourth quarter, Prescott went 70 yards on 10 plays and threw a 7-yard touchdown pass to CD, had a little lamb to cut the lead to 27-17 49ers. Carlson then kicked a 41-yard field goal with 4:29 left in the fourth to bring the 49ers lead to 30-17. With 3:36 left in the game, Prescott threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to Lamb to bring the score within 6 points to 30-24. San Francisco, and that's how the game would end. So, Joe, did you notice the change in the Cowboys defense and how at the beginning of the first quarter they put 6 defensive linemen up on the line to stop the run, and it was working? But then all of a sudden they just gave up in the third quarter and played well in the fourth. What did you think of that 6D lineman lineup, though?
All right. Well, I can make something up here and come up with a good response, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't get a chance to see it. So, I can't really answer that question. But, I will say that, Santa Clara is one of those teams that when, just when you think they're down, they wake up, and just when you think, okay, maybe that crazy prediction we had on this network in the beginning of the season of them not making the playoffs, could that possibly happen? And this was a game that they could have easily lost, but again, played solid and showed up for it. Now speaking of showing up, CD Lamb finally showed up, 146 yards and 13 catches, 2 touchdowns there as well. You mentioned, one of those, and Kittle getting a touchdown. He had 148 yards for the 49ers. But when you look at the stats and the yardage, it wasn't as close. I mean, San Francisco had 469 total yards to Dallas's 292. So almost a 200-yard difference there. So San Francisco dominated there offensively. And of course, when you get a close game like this, it's the turnovers that can make the difference. And, Dak had 2 of those, even though he had a decent game besides that. Still, that factored in the decision there. So unfortunately, being honest, I didn't see the defensive change. But I did look at some of the highlights here and some of the stats, and, it's a good win by the 49ers.
And Steve, do you think that the 49ers have any chance of taking their team to the playoffs, or what do you think?
I think they're so injury stricken right now. McCaffrey coming back's nice for them, but their receivers being out, Kittle's still pretty good. It's going to be a tough go for them, but I do, we said earlier, I think the NFC West is anybody's division right now, and they could win it just as easily as the Cardinals could win it. So it's, like I said about the Thursday night game, I don't really invest myself much in NFC, especially when both teams are the NFC. However, I do think the Cowboys are what the Jets are if the Jets made the playoffs. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like the Jets, they look like a paper tiger, really, like a really good team on paper with good players and whatever, and they just can't seem to get it done. So the Cowboys are confusing as heck, but so are the Jets. The Jets should be much better than they are. But watching that game, or not, again, I didn't watch it, but watching the highlights of that game for Monday night, or it was the Sunday night game, right? Yeah, it was the Sunday night game.
That was the Sunday night game.
Yeah, watching the highlights from it, it's 2 teams right now that, we thought were going to be up there in the AFC, or NFC. We didn't think that the Commanders were going to be winning the NFC East. We didn't think that the, 49ers are going to be tied with the Seahawks and the Rams in the NFC West. So it's kind of just a game that's just you turn on and it's underwhelming, you're just oh, these guys aren't impressive to me, and but again, at their full capacity and full strength, they could both be scary teams if they were able to get there. I just think, like Danielle said earlier, maybe it has something to do with coaching, but the injury-stricken issues with the 49ers definitely hurts them. And yeah, I think that's a game when the Bills play them in a couple weeks after the bye. I think they play them. That's a game the Bills should win. but we don't know what the 49ers are going to be like in 3 weeks. You know, we don't know, or 4 weeks. We don't know if they're going to have some players back. Obviously, they're not going to have Ayuk, but they could have Debo back. They could have McCaffrey back. So they could be a different team than we're seeing right now. So it's, again, like I said, I'm just not really like impressed by either of them right now. It's just kind of like, oh, you guys are really underperforming. And it seems like there's always some decent NFC teams and AFC teams that do that every year. So it just usually is the Cowboys. So that's my thought on that game, really.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, to the Monday night matchup between the 2-5 New York G-Men, led by Brian Daboll, taking on the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. With 10:19 left in the first quarter, kicker Chris Boswell hit a 31-yard field goal to bring the score to 3-0 Steelers. The Giants then responded with a field goal of their own as Greg Joseph kicked a 29-yard field goal to knot the score at 3-3. The Steelers kicked another field goal as Boswell made a 25-yarder to close out the quarter at 6-3 Steelers. The Giants opened up the second quarter with another 39-yard field goal by Joseph to knot the score at 6. With 8:12 left in the first half, Boswell kicked a 29-yard field goal to give Pittsburgh the lead 9-6. With 21 seconds left in the first half, Joseph tied the game at 9 with a 44-yard field goal, bringing the teams into the locker rooms tied at 9 at the half. With 4:38 left in the third quarter, Calvin Austin III returned a punt for a 72-yard touchdown to bring the score to 16-9 Steelers. With 13:16 left in the fourth quarter, Austin scored a touchdown from Russell Wilson from 29 yards to increase the Steelers' lead 23-9. With 11:07 left in the game, Tyrone Tracy scored on a 45-yard touchdown run, but the two-point conversion failed, bringing the score to 23-15 Pittsburgh. The Steelers would respond back as Boswell kicked another field goal from 27 yards with 7:15 to play, increasing their lead to 27-15. With 5:06 left in the game, Joseph kicked a 48-yard field goal Sorry, guys, my thing went down.
Me too.
But anyway, Joe, with the game being such a high momentum, what did you think of all the key game changes with the Steelers and the Giants?
Well, you know, the game overall to me was just a continuation of some trends that you were wondering if the trend was going to, like I talked about, regressing to the mean earlier. Like the Steelers are playing great football, but you keep thinking, okay, they're going to regress back, right? The Giants have been playing poorly this year, but you keep thinking maybe they hit a little streak and get some positive light here. But this game proved that both philosophies are incorrect. The Steelers continued to play well. The Giants continued to play poorly. Now, the Giants do have a bright spot there. You mentioned Tyrone Tracy, another over 100-yard game here, 145 yards and a touchdown for him. But for the Steelers, I mean, you know, Russell Wilson played another great game. Najee Harris has been doing well. In fact, he clinched my fantasy win. I needed him to score 10 in order to win my fantasy game, and he got me like 14. So he came through for me and played well. But we were talking about penalties before, and, you know, all of the penalties that are called in these games. Well, there was a big difference between the two teams. The Giants had 11 penalties, 65 yards, you know, compared to Pittsburgh, who only had 5 for 50. So penalties certainly cost the Giants here. But again, the trends that I thought maybe would start to change didn't change here. Steelers continue to play well. The Giants continue to play poorly. So, you know, that we kind of stuck to the status quo here with this game, in my opinion.
And Steve, is there anything that you think Brian Dable and his organization could do to help Daniel Jones and the team?
Yeah, they could bench Daniel Jones and get a new quarterback.
That's going to happen
honest,
eventually.
That's my honest opinion. I mean, I read something today that like they're benching, Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco, and Bryce Young got benched for Andy Dalton, and Daniel Jones is starting his 71st game. Like, what are we doing? Like it's the same thing with Deshaun Watson, right? Like, I'm never going to wish injury on someone, but I feel like him getting injured was the best thing for the Browns organization, because I feel like he might never play another snap of football again with the way Jameis came in and beat the Ravens. So I think when it comes down to it, I think they're going to just need to move on from Daniel Jones. They might need to do what the Bills did with Diggs and just eat a year if they have to. I don't know how many years he has left on his contract, maybe 1 or 2, but just eat it and move on. Draft a guy this year. They're probably going to have a high pick. Because at what point does Dayball start getting put on a hot seat, right? I mean, it's his first year was decent, but since then, what have they been? They haven't been anything. Malik Neighbors is going to just wither away there with 1 million receptions and nothing to show for it. So it's and then when it comes to the Steelers are the same as they are every year. They're probably going to make the playoffs. Probably going to get bounced in the first round, and they've had good years before. They've won Super Bowls, so I'm not talking about any of that. But the Steelers right now, the new Steelers of who they are, they're a good defense with an offense that doesn't lose them games. Mm-hmm. But when they play really good teams, they lose the games. So it's both those teams are, I think they're a lot further away. Everyone's got the Steelers in their top 10 power rankings right now. I think that's a load of malarkey. I don't think they should be in anybody's top 10 personally. Congratulations, you beat the Giants. And I know people could say that about the Bills, but like, you were close. The game was closer than it should have been when you're playing a Giants team that's playing that poorly. And, a lot of season left. Steelers, again, I feel like this year is very similar to every year too with a lot of the teams, right? I always say that. Like the Dolphins come in as favorites again, and they're just the Dolphins, and the Jets come in and they're jetting themselves right back to the bottom of the division. So it feels the same way with the Steelers. With the Chiefs are still who they are, even though Mahomes isn't playing that great. So I think it feels like we're in some kind of weird, simulation right now with the NFL. Like, a lot of the stuff's the same, just a couple teams changing spots here and there. But Steelers and Giants are both teams that I think are just going to fade at the end of the season and not really be anything. So, but Daniel Jones has got to go, and I never want to wish ill will on anybody, but man, that guy just doesn't have it.
But anyway, before I get into another segment, what did you guys think of the Chicago Bears Washington Commanders game where Jaden Daniels got out of the play and the Chicago cornerback was taunting with the fans, and when Jaden Daniels chucked the ball up, the Chicago corner tipped it and the Washington guy caught it. What did you think of that? But also, what did you guys also think of the fact that the NFC North is trying to get the NFL to sign a petition to overturn that Washington win? What do you guys think of that? Go.
I'll let you go.
Oh,
well, I saw the play live, and it was crazy. Now, that's funny, Jamie. I didn't know about the other stuff. I didn't know about the taunting thing until I saw the highlight the next day. And again, that's just stupidity, and he kind of deserves that. Now, to get the win overturned, how do you overturn that? You got nothing there. It was a great play. It's probably the play of the season at this point, and just add another notch to Jalen Daniels' record there. That's quickly, that resume that's quickly building there. So great win. I saw it live. I had, I do a pool where I pick every game with the point spread, and it cost me one of the games on there because I had the Bears, but still, it was worth seeing, in my opinion, and just great football and the play of the season so far.
Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that player is going to be reamed in film room, the one who pointed at the fans and kind of blew that. It gave me a little bit of PTSD from the Hail Murray, just one of those things like, oh, that really sucks to be a Bears fan.
Oh man,
Because I know exactly how that feels, and that really sucks. And obviously it happened recently with Rodgers completing a Hail Mary against us too. So it's an unbelievable play. I really like Jaden Daniels. I think he's a great quarterback. I'm not a huge fan of Caleb Williams, the way he carries himself, and it's just my personal feeling towards it. But I think Jaden Daniels is the real deal. And I'm excited to see what he can do. It's scary that he's as good as he is being this young. I think he's very mature. But the ending of that game, it's going to be, like I said, that player of the Bears is going to get reamed out in practice this week. Just like, even though it counted as a touchdown, I don't know if you guys saw Kyle Pitts' second touchdown when he started celebrating before he crossed the goal line. And the player from, who was it? I think the Saints maybe came out and, I don't know if it wasn't the Saints. It was another team I can't remember who the Falcons were playing. Tampa. It was Winfield. He came out and he knocked the ball out of Kyle Pitts' hands as he was crossing the goal line. So they did count it as a touchdown, said the ball broke the plane. But I think Kyle's going to get an earful from his coach of not celebrating too early. And that's just, it's just excitement in the game. It's a stupid thing to do. You want to make sure you score before you celebrate, but you also want to make sure you've knocked a ball down before you start taunting fans. And just like Tariq Woolen, you didn't stop Keon Coleman on 4th down. You stopped him on 1st down. There's still another play to go, and Keon Coleman jumped up and caught a pass over you and then patted you on the head and said, "Nice try, buddy." So I think players got to, realize the situation they're in, not celebrate too early, not be too cocky, and, wait till the clock says 0 before you start pointing fingers at fans and doing things. So, but yeah, kudos to Washington for not giving up on that. And maybe next time the Bears should rush more than 3 and not have a QB spy. I don't understand.
Yeah, and kudos to Jaden Daniels. I actually wrote an article the week before the game talking about how his rise to stardom and how he uses a VR set from this German company to help him, mentally see what's going on the field before he goes out and actually does it, which is really cool. So,
but it'd be interesting to see the ramifications of this. What if this costs the Bears a playoff spot, which is entirely possible? What if this is the win? What if this is the reason that Washington wins the NFC East? I mean, this game could have major ramifications down the road, especially for the Bears, negative ones, that if they don't make the playoffs and they miss by 1 game, guess where they're going to look?
Right. NFC North is the hardest division right now in football, in my opinion. I mean, it's Green Bay is playing well, Vikings are playing well, and the Lions are one of the top teams in the NFC. So Bears don't have any wiggle room, and being 5-2 would be a lot better than 4-3 right now for them. Yeah. So
that's it. Now, Jamie, did you get a chance to see it?
I did. I thought it was. I did. I wrote, like I said, I thought it was fate when he made that play that he did that with the fact that he was injured last week with bruised ribs, and he came back and got out of the play and tossed it up on there, and it was tipped and caught. I thought, wow, this kid's impressed me already, and it makes my article look even more credible now. So
that's right.
And like I said, I also think I think it would be an interesting conversation to talk about the overturning a win, even though the NFL would never do it. It's just an interesting media conversation thing.
Yeah, it is. It's funny how you mentioned, bringing back bad memories, Steve. I was teasing my daughter with that. We said we were both watching it. And I told her, I said, does that bring back any memories? She's like, Dad, stop. No, so we thought about that play too here when it happened. So I don't think that memory will ever go away.
No, it won't.
Okay. All right. So guess what? Finally, it is now that time in our show for our question of the week segment. So Steve, as our guest this week, would you like to give it a try?
Well, yeah, I would. I'll gladly try to get it right this time because I've got it wrong every other time. So let's do it.
Okay, Steve, here's your question. Can you guess this NFL quarterback? He has the most rushing touchdowns in the season by a rushing quarterback. Is it Cam Newton, Jalen Hurts so good, Steve Grogan, or Lamar Action Jackson?
It almost feels like a trick question. I got to go with Cam Newton.
You got it. It was Cam Newton. He had 14. He holds the record for 14 rushing touchdowns in a season and is the all-time leading touchdown rusher with 75 rushing TDs in his career. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show, and we would like to thank our special guest, Steve the Car Guy, for coming on our show with all his Buffalo Bills knowledge.
Hey, question before you go. Are you aware, Jamie, that the record was broken last year by 2 quarterbacks?
No, I wasn't. Who were they?
Yours truly, Josh Allen, 15 rushing touchdowns last year, and Jalen Hurts had 15 rushing touchdowns last year. That's why I was surprised. I was like, it feels like it's a trick question because I feel like Josh had 15, but you said Cam Newton, and I was like, I know Josh just broke Cam Newton's record. That's why I was like, I think that's the answer, but I just looked it up. It said, yeah, last year Josh had it says Bills quarterback Josh Allen and Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts both have 15 rushing touchdowns last season, meaning they've both broken the NFL record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. Prior to the season, the record was 14, set by Cam Newton in 2011.
That's funny because I was about to say I wouldn't have guessed Cam Newton there. I would have said Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
but
and that's what I was going to say at first, and I was, and it would have been wrong, but it also
Right.
it would have been correct, because I was like, I think they both broke it.
Was it in the season? You said Allen and Jalen Hurts broke the record for 15 touchdowns in the season, right?
Yep, last year.
Yeah, it was in the 15. Season.
Correct.
Where did you get that from?
So I actually just searched on Google. I said who had the most rushing touchdowns in a season as a quarterback, and it popped up in a full screenshot of Bills quarterback Josh Allen and Eagles quarterback. And I remember Josh had 15 last year, so that's why when you said 14 for Newton, I'm like, I think it's 15. And I just wanted to confirm. But yeah, Josh Allen holds that record now with Jalen.
Well, I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize there, folks. I got some outdated information by my producer, but that's okay.
No apologies needed. Don't worry about it.
So you were right. Up until then, it was Cam Newton, but I will still give you that.
Thanks.
Because that was prior to that. But now we know it's Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen for 15 in the season. But you were right about Cam Newton because he holds the career record for touchdowns with 75.
Right.
So now you get 2 correct answers, which bumps up your percentage now. See?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'll take it.
Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. We'd like to thank our special guest, Steve the Car Guy, for coming on our show with all his Buffalo Bills knowledge. So, Joe,
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Social media on Tuesday, October 29th, 2024.
Yes. And first, I'll say thank you again, Steve, for joining us. We very much appreciate it. I could be found on Twitter X, Joe Dell Sports there.
Okay. And Steve, where can we find you?
Twitter X as well, Bills Car Guy. He's right in the handle there with the underscores, and that's where I like to discuss most of my football.
Yep. And then you can find me, yours truly, on Bills Chat 1 at Bills Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist at DJ Dog Tags on X, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our Driving to the Top Productions YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and ring the bell for notifications. For more content like the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room and also Open Mic, which started 6 minutes ago on Driving to the Top Productions, please visit our YouTube page, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, X stream, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, the Dallas Cowboys need to complete a full game and not give up in the third quarter. The Buffalo Bills finally played a complete game from start to finish. And to all the 31 NFL teams out there, for the dear mother of God, Please quit trading all your best players to Kansas City when their players get hurt. Anyway, to reel it in, and to quote our friend Chris Berman, this one thing always remains true. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. See you next time, folks.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
To rock this place. Hey! Hey!